Hi, I'm Pattu from freefincal. Today let's talk about 4 ELSS tax saving funds that have consistently outperformed the Nifty 200 using the monthly freefincal equity mutual fund screener. Before I begin, if you use an Android phone and if you see a freefincal article pop up in your Android feed, so this is when if you have a pure Android phone that is without any kind of UI on top of an Android. If you swipe left, then no, if you swipe right on the main screen, you should be able to get the Google feed, the Chrome feed, or if you open the Chrome browser, you will be able to get a feed of articles. Sometimes you might be able to see the freefincal article in there. And if you do see that, I would request you to push this small slider right there, push it up so that you get more such articles in your feed. That will help me and help you as well. Thank you. So, all right. So let's get to this. We're going to use Nifty 200 as a benchmark. I used to use Nifty large mid cap 250, but then in the last couple of years, since the mid cap has gone down and the large cap has been moving up, I wanted a slightly a better representative benchmark. That is, it should be a little bit beyond the 100 large caps and also kind of have a large cap tilt so that it's difficult for fund managers to beat it, rather than the Nifty large mid cap 250, which was hard to beat a couple of years ago, but because the mid caps are down, it's hard to beat the Nifty 200 total returns index now. So I've been using this again. I have to fix this freezing camera problem. I don't know why that happens. All right, so again, I had to change this benchmark, so these things change. So as usual, if you are familiar with how my screener works, what I do is I consider every possible rolling returns over 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 years between January 1st, 2013 to the date before I released the screener. In this case, it was July 4th, 2020. And then I basically define a rolling return consistency. So for example, if I have a fund like Canara Robeco Equity Tax Saver, there are 600 plus 5-year return data points, and out of the available 614 5-year return data points, the fund has bet the Nifty 200 over 608 times. So 608 by 614 is 99%, and this is called a rolling return consistency. So we will only choose funds that have a rolling return consistency of greater than 70% over 5 years and 4 years and 3 years and 2 years and 1 year. Then you can measure downside risk. That is, if the benchmark falls by 10%, how much does the fund fall? Does it fall typically less than 10% or typically more than 10%? So this is what is I use something called downside capture ratio to estimate this downside protection. And I also find out, just like rolling return consistency, I define what is known as downside protection consistency. Downside protection consistency tells you how often the downside capture of the fund is less than 100%. If the downside capture of the fund is less than 100%, it means that the fund has fallen lesser than the benchmark. So a downside protection consistency of greater than 70% means out of 100 samples, 70 samples had a fall. The fund fell 70 times less than the benchmark. That's what it typically means. And so I'm looking for a downside protection consistency of greater than 70% as well over 5 years and 4 years and 3 years and 2 years and 1 year. So I'm going to look for both rolling return consistency of 70%, greater than 70%, and downside protection consistency of greater than 70% over 5 and 4 and 3 and 2 and 1 years. And that's how you arrive at these funds. The exact definition of downside capture and the exact definition of downside protection consistency are available here. You can look at you can go to the community page and access this link. I've posted this there, or you can just go to freefincal.com. That's the latest post. You should be able to see it. So we took 42 ELSS funds. Some of them are closed funds, closed for new subscribers because they were existing funds, but then SEBI rule said only one ELSS fund is allowed, and so they stopped the duplicate fund. But we just took everything, and like I said, we used a filter of greater than 70% rolling return consistency and greater than 70% a downside protection consistency. So over 5 years, 22 funds qualified. Over 5 and 4 years, 17 funds. 5, 4 and 3, 14 funds. 5, 4, 3 and 2, 9 funds. 5, 4, 3, 2 and 1 year, only these 4 funds. Aditya Birla Sun Life Tax Relief, DSP Tax Saver. If I'm not wrong, both of these are part of my Plumline funds. I hope I'm correct. I'm just saying it out of memory. I could be wrong. Invesco India Tax Plan, Tata India Tax Savings Funds. Of course, it doesn't mean that they are Plumline funds, because obviously I will be only using a consistent performer for such categories in my Plumline. Sometimes I use it, sometimes I use my own subjective influences, which can have positive and negative influences. Sometimes I use quantitative factors, and I think for this I have just used quant factors. So those are your 4 funds. And please, I'm not claiming that this is the right way to select funds or anything like that. These funds are good funds. They've done well. I'm not saying others are bad, but these are a little bit better in terms of consistency. How they will be in future, nobody knows. So please do your own research, own due diligence before investing in such funds. Thank you. Bye-bye.